Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So today, I wanted to have a discussion on the importance of planning out the future of your characters. If you're writing a series, you always need to plan for your characters in the direction that they're going to go, and I wanted to use RWBY's characters as an example of what to do and what not to do. So sit back, relax, I hope you all enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started. When you're coming up with a series, one of the most important things is your characters. Your characters are going to drive the direction of where your story is going to go. Several character arcs are going to be revolved around certain characters, and will further develop them, and it will also help you come up with a direct path of where you plan to take all of these characters, whether they live, whether they die, what kind of development they're going to go through. There's very interesting things that can come with characters, especially with planning them out. But while there are good things that come with planning out characters, there's also bad things that will happen if your characters are not thoroughly planned out. And this is something I also want to go over as well. So we're going to look at the negatives and the positives. Because, you can't look at the good without the bad, and we have to look at both spectrums. So that's what we're going to take a look at here. Because one thing is, if you thoroughly plan out a character, if you know the direction your character is going to go, say you come up with a character idea, one of the best things to do with a character is you think about them and you think, where do I want them to end up by the end of the series? You're going to either think, well, they're going to be doing so-and-so, or they may die at a certain point for development and other reasons to progress the plot and the characters along. So there are certain things you're going to think about when you're planning for these characters, when you're planning their characteristics and their motives, what they want to do, and where they're going to go. Now here's the thing. I want to look at RWBY's character first off, so let's start by looking at RWBY. When you look at RWBY, and I'm going to bring in motivations to this, because this is an important thing to factor in when it comes to planning a character out. So looking at RWBY's character, when she, obviously, the idea for her to come up with was to become a huntress. It's her goal to be that, to protect others from harm, and that's a good thing. She had interesting character traits, and that's pretty good. But the future of her character, where is she going to go? You see, here's the thing. She wants to be a huntress. But let's say the whole issue with Salem gets resolved. Say RWBY survives that conflict, which, more than likely she will, but, just saying. What is she going to do after that? There may still be Grimm out there, of course, but who knows? Where is she going to go from there? Is she going to try to settle down? Is she going to continue to try to fight villainy anywhere there is to be, I guess you could say, a savior of Remnant? But at that point, once she hits that pedestal, what else is there that she wants to do? Once she actually does save Remnant, once she does become a huntress, what more does she want to do with her life after that? There could be more things. Does she want to become a headmaster of an academy? Does she want to teach the next generation to become hunters and huntresses so that they can protect the people as well? What direction does she want to take next? You see, there's so much there that could be done. And who knows, maybe RWBY will try to make Remnant a more peaceful place for everyone to try to unify more. Who knows? Maybe that's another goal of hers, but we'll just have to see where that direction goes. But looking at Weiss is the best developed character of Team RWBY for certain. She has had the best development by far. And I feel like, with how her character has been written, I feel like they've understood her the best when it comes to planning her character out. And when you look at it, when you look at Weiss's character as a whole, she wants to be a huntress. Okay, check. She wants to build up the reputation of the Shanitas company that has been damaged by her father. Okay, another good reason to just look at Weiss's character and think the planning's been pretty good for her so far. And then, of course, when Winter tells her to detach herself from the company, I think this was actually good because it shows that Weiss has always wanted freedom to escape from her father because her father has always made decisions for the family, including herself. And in Volume 4, he tried to control her by trying to force her into singing. And then, of course, he then tried to say that, no, your life is going to be in this bedroom forever. You will never leave this place ever again. He tried to control her. He tried to make sure that she would never leave. And she wants freedom. She wants to escape the misery that she's lived with because her father has been an abusive individual. So I think overall, so far, Volume 7 hasn't come out yet, but looking at the direction that they've planned for her character at least, I think that it's actually gone better than a lot of other characters. I will at least give it that. I think that, at least with Weiss, they knew a direction to go with, so I'll at least give them that. Now, seeing where Volume 7 goes is another thing. I can't say yet, but once it's out, we'll then know if it's well or not. But characters that I feel like weren't planned out very well. For starters, let's look at Blake. I don't think they had a clue where they were going with Blake's character. Now, the reason why I say this is because when it came to the ideas of the White Fang, yeah, that could have actually taken it very far if they had done that very well, but sadly enough, they dropped the ball there. I had always hoped that Blake would become a leader of the revolution against the White Fang, and I was hoping that she would be able to stand up instead of run away. Now, of course, yeah, she learned not to run away. Sun was the one to be there to help her realize that. But here's the problem. It was executed poorly in Volume 5. And I think that the rebellion could have at least lasted till Volume 7 with Atlas. But, like I said, they dropped the ball very badly. And then, of course, them also retconning things like, yeah, Blake is actually the daughter of the leader of the White Fang. Which, of course, you would have thought that many individuals would have noticed that, but apparently not. Plus, with Adam now being dead before the events in Atlas take place, which we do know that Atlas and the Shinidas Company, yeah, there's a big issue with them and the Faunus there, but yeah, just throw that all under the bus. Just go ahead and kill Adam before a big event, which, who knows, there could have been a coup on Adam's part whenever it comes to the Shinidas Company, but nah, let's forget about that, right? And then, of course, this leaves one thing. What is Blake's future? I mean, to bring together the Faunus at this point, I mean, the whole idea of a revolutionist leader, that's kind of gone. And that's kind of sad, because that would have been a much better war to throw into Atlas, considering that I think a big Faunus war would have made a lot more sense there in the White Fang trying to take down Atlas. But nope, they had to just get rid of Adam as soon as possible and just completely abolish the idea of the White Fang. Yeah, not a good idea. Also, to top that off, the only thing I can really see for Blake's character moving forward would really be her trying to unify humans and Faunus, maybe be an ambassador for the Faunus. I don't know. I mean, that's the only future I can see for her going forward. But looking at Yang, I think Yang is the worst planned character in all of Team RWBY. Out of all the other members, I think that she had the ball completely dropped. The potential for her character fell like a sack of rocks. I mean, it was pretty bad. And here's the thing. I don't think the planning for Yang's character was well thought out at all. I think it's actually the worst out of all of Team RWBY's planning so far. And let me explain why I think this is the worst planning. Look at Volumes 1 through 3. Yang in Volumes 1 through 3, the big thing about her character is that she was searching for her mother. Okay, that's interesting. She had an absent mother and she wants to have answers. Alright, that's a cool idea already, so nothing wrong with that. Secondly, the next big thing. She became a huntress, as she explains to Oobleck when he asked her why she wanted to become one, was because she wanted to go on an adventure. Now, she still kind of questioned some other things, wondering what more to do, because Oobleck asked her what more she wanted to do. She didn't really know. Okay, so there's that. And then, of course, Volume 2 starts to build up on the idea of Yang and Raven. Alright, cool idea. Nothing wrong with this. And, that made everybody curious as to Raven and the mystery surrounding her. Alright, very interesting. Raven had a survival of the fittest mentality that was brought up by Crow, which he said he disagreed with. Okay, gives us a little bit more to teach Yang about her own mother when trying to find answers. Okay, that's interesting. That's something that people want to know. But then the ball gets dropped. Of course, there's a big kick in the face to Yang, because what happened with her? Well, the PTSD after what Adam did. Very interesting. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's something that she could have had an internal struggle of, and we could have continued to see that through the series. Rather, when she gets the replacement arm, yeah, it's like that PTSD idea just gets dropped. I mean, of course, yes, her arm shakes from time to time, but it doesn't seem like she really has a struggle. Especially in the Adam fight, when she should have had a struggle. I mean, this could have been a mental breakdown moment for Yang. This could have been a moment for Yang to show a sign of weakness and to overcome the mental issues she's had because of Adam and what he inflicted upon her. But instead, she just is automatically good to go, and there's no issue. Which is a problem. To top that off, she tried to throw out the whole idea of looking for her mother to find Ruby. But Ruby's eventually going to grow up, and she's eventually going to be able to fend for herself. Once that happens, what is Yang going to do? What is her future? What direction will Yang go in? And that's the problem now. The whole arc with her and Raven is done. There's nothing more really there to be solved. I mean, yeah, Raven herself could have a redemption arc, but that would be for Raven. That wouldn't be for Yang. And also, when it comes to that, where's Yang going to go from here? What is she going to do? I mean, an adventure is what she's already doing right now currently. So, what is she going to do when the series ends? I don't think the writers have planned out an idea for Yang going forward. I just think she's there to protect her sister, and that's about it. I don't really think that, from what the writers have planned, I don't see them actually really having a future for Yang's character. And I'm not trying to put down Yang here, but I think the writing for Yang was very poor. And it goes to show you that the writers have not planned out what they're going to do with Yang anymore. I think at this point, I mean, look at it. She has achieved what she set out to do. She found her mother. She's going on an adventure now. She's overcome Adam even. I mean, what is there for her future? What is she going to do now? What does she want to do after all of this is said and done? I mean, Ruby's going to get to a point where she can take care of herself and protect herself. What's Yang going to do then? See, that's why I'm saying I think the writing was poor, and I don't think that it was planned out there. And if you look forward, another big thing, let's look at Team Juniper. I mean, Juniper, they have some of my favorite characters in there, too. I mean, I like Nora, I like Ren, and yeah, I did enjoy Pyrrha, but, you know, Pyrrha's dead. I mean, that was planned, though. That was planned from the beginning. Monty did plan to kill off Pyrrha, and we'll get into that in a moment. But let's look at Ren and Nora for a brief moment. What are they going to do now? The backstory has been thrown out there for Ren and Nora, and in Volume 6 and Volume 5 both, they kind of got the shaft. They were just there to be there. You know, they were basically just armed forces to help with trying to protect Haven and then try to help with Atlas. You know, they didn't do very much, and that's sad to say considering I enjoyed these two characters, but what's the plan going forward? I mean, I do know of some things regarding Nora, and I don't know why they're doing a backstory for Nora at this point, considering that her backstory was there with Ren. I mean, maybe it's about her, how she became an orphan and how she ended up in Ren's village, I guess. But I hope they don't screw her up. That's the big thing that I'm worried about, because Nora is one of my favorite characters, and if this backstory screws her up, oh boy, you better believe I'm not going to be happy about it. I'll tell you that one right now. So that's my fear going forward for Nora. But let's look at Pyrrha. Pyrrha is a character that was developed well, I think. She was a character that was built up, and originally it was always the intended purpose for her character to actually die. That was Monty's plan for Pyrrha all along, hence her name being based off of Pyrrhic victory. And yeah, while it's sad that Pyrrha is dead, and I think that she was definitely one of the better characters in the entire series, not just strength-wise, but with characteristics as well, the thing of it is, with Pyrrha dying, there was a plan there. And it was a good plan. I think that, yeah, while she died, and yes, it's very sad that she died, I think that she died for a good reason. But, well, that plan for that reason's kind of gone to the wayside, though. I mean, you look at it, she was meant to help Jean become a better fighter, and it was meant to improve upon Jean's character. But then, of course, when Volume 3 was shifted around, it actually was a reason for Ruby Silver Eyes to actually awaken. Yeah, I think the original idea was better about how Jean could have been the death of Pyrrha, because that could have actually really developed Jean better than what we've gotten, because I think Volumes 4 through 6 Jean are just bad. I don't enjoy him at all. I think his character's terrible in comparison to Volumes 1 through 3 Jean. I like Jean from Volumes 1 through 3, and it would have made a lot more sense for Jean to have a vendetta against Cinder had he been the reason that Pyrrha had died, and I think it would have been a better reason for Jean to have a vendetta against Cinder if he had actually been there and he had been the cause of Pyrrha dying for him. I think that would have been better than what we got, but at the same time, it just makes me think that they don't have a direction for Team Juniper going forward. I don't think they really have a plan except for them just kind of being there. But I want to take a look at some of the antagonist characters. Let's look at Cinder for a minute, because I don't think they have a plan for her going forward other than they're going to keep her around until they feel like they need to kill her. Now, let me explain why I say that. Okay, so looking at Cinder. Cinder was a character that was a very intelligent and cunning person. She was strategic. She was a character that definitely planned things out, and she was the one who led the fall of Beacon. It was her plans on how to take down Beacon. I mean, yeah, it was her goal given to her by Salem to take down Beacon, but it was not Salem's plan. It was Cinder's plan. And of course, after that ends, you start to potentially see Cinder actually develop in Volume 4. It seems like she does have a bit of fear of what she was seeing. It's like whenever you have Tyrion killing the Grimm mercilessly because he failed, she seemed to have a bit of fear. And then, of course, they make her be stuck to revenge when it comes to RWBY because of her taking her arm and her eye. But the old Cinder was a smart character. And whether people like her or not, you have to admit, she was smart for what she did. And, they then kind of just throw her under the bus and act like everything she accomplished in Volumes 1 through 3, they just act like, oh, yeah, let's push all the credit to Salem. And I don't feel they have a plan for Cinder going forward because her character has changed so drastically. She's just power and revenge hungry now. And they don't seem to really know anything about her character other than, hey, look, power, revenge. What else is there for Cinder to do? I mean, Volumes 1 through 3, I mean, it's more so 2 and 3 because she had more appearances then and we started to get to know her character more then. It seemed like then there was more than just the whole power revenge gimmick. I mean, she was more than a one-dimensional character at that time, and we were starting to see a bit of that. I mean, I don't think the plans going forward, Volumes 4 through 6, are going very well for Cinder. In fact, I don't think they have any plans for Cinder. I just think they're going to keep her around till they feel they need to throw her away. I hate to say that, but I think that's the truth, showing poor writing yet again. And, of course, an antagonist needs to have their own goals. They need to have their own personality. But I don't think they've planned that through for Cinder. Another thing to look at, let's look back at the words of Volume 3 Cinder. She even states that she wasn't sure of which side was right. That means Ozpin and Salem's side. She's more indecisive back in Volume 3. And that's an interesting thing to think about, because at that point in time, she was trying to expose the academies for their secrets, as well as being unsure of which side was truly right. She wanted to reveal the corruption of the academies, but at the same time, she's still unsure if Salem's even correct. And that's an interesting thing to look at, because that shows you that there's so much more potential for Cinder's character, but then you look at Volumes 4 through 6 Cinder, and it just seems like she's revenge and power hungry. It doesn't seem like there's a plan for her going forward other than just keeping her around as a villain. And there needs to be a backstory reveal. Volume 6 had potential to try to start to set that up, but they didn't even do that. They kind of casted Cinder's side story away, and I think that's a problem. But to also look at it, I'll say this, and this is my personal opinion. You can disagree with me, that's fine. I don't have an issue with it. But I don't think Salem was built up very well either. I think it would have been better to have her be like a sentient Grimm, a Grimm that was so intelligent over time that it became Salem, or the idea of Salem actually being the good guy and Ozpin actually being the villain like they were setting up, or the idea of both Salem and Ozpin just fighting with different beliefs and, you choose your side, which side you believe could be good or bad. And with all the other antagonists as well, I mean, I think Mercury and Emerald have potential. I think Mercury has the best potential right now as an antagonist character. Out of Salem's group, that is. So I think that he has potential. But you look at Hazel, his whole story was rushed, the whole revenge idea. Watts and Tyrion, we still don't know anything about them yet, which I'm sure Volume 7 will clarify on. But there's something I do want to take a look at. When it comes to Adam, and I've talked about this multiple times, but I'm going to bring it up here, and there's something interesting to note. When it comes to Adam's character, there was a different plan originally. And, of course, Volume 6, they completely diverted from it. I mean, even Volume 5 they did. But Adam was a revolutionist. Regardless of what people say, it's what he was. He was a revolutionist. He was a terrorist. He was both of these things. And let me remind you of something. Just because a character's perspective on another character, just because they feel a certain way, does not mean they are that kind of character. That's through their eyes. Just because they've seen what they've seen does not mean that is the entire character. That doesn't tell you their entire upbringing. That's why backstories exist. so they can tell you what the character's gone through and why they've become the way they have become. And instead of following the original plan, they had to have Adam fit the narrative of being a misogynistic, toxic male, instead of actually being the revolutionist and terrorist he was actually meant to be. And he was actually originally meant to have a moral gray area. Now, let me tell you a little bit of something that I've had sources lead me to this information. And to those sources out there, I thank you. But Monty originally had it planned that Adam was going to kill Penny in Volume 3. Because Adam was going to have an internal conflict with himself for killing an artificial being that had a soul. This was supposed to then have Adam take a different look at life and have a different perspective on it. And he was meant to have an internal conflict with who he was because of this. And it was supposed to bother him that he killed an individual that actually had a soul. So this was supposed to be inner turmoil with Adam, and he was supposed to have this inner conflict that he was to deal with, and this was to affect his moral gray area after that. And it was supposed to actually make him look at things much differently, and make him look at life in a different aspect as well. But instead of getting that great Adam, we got a politically driven Adam instead, totally ruining and destroying his character instead of sticking to what the original plan was. But moving forward, you look at wildcard characters like Neo and Roman, you know, they fit in at any given time that they can really be thrown in there. I mean, you know, look at Roman and look at Neo. I mean, they could do whatever. I mean, look at Volume 3. Say, past that. If you were to have Volume 4 through 6, of course, you already have Neo returning in 6. But the thing is, look at Volume 4, 5, and 6 if Roman had survived. He could be thrown in there at any given time after that. I mean, so, you know, they could really be thrown in anywhere, which could have been good to see them be reoccurring villains for certain situations. I think that would have been really cool. I wouldn't have been against that idea. I think that would have been an awesome way to just kind of throw in Roman and Neo, and besides, I think Roman's one of the best antagonists the entire series has ever had. I mean, I love his witty jokes. He may not have been the strongest character, but he was definitely smart. And as we've seen with Neo returning, the thing is, you know, Neo may be siding with Cinder right now, and of course Neo went back for revenge, because they had talked about how they were going to throw Neo back in after Volume 3 before Volume 4, so it was only a matter of time that Neo was going to return for the plot. And her part in the plot makes sense. I mean, she wants revenge for the death of someone that was close to her. And of course she thought it was Cinder, and then of course turns around that she's teaming up with Cinder to take on RWBY. Now, does that mean that she'll stay with Cinder after this? Of course not. She could go work elsewhere and work with somebody else, or work on her own. Or she could still stay with Cinder and work alongside her, who knows. But the thing is, a lot of people tried to say that Neo is nothing more than a fan service character, and that's why she was brought back, but that's not true. She's not at all a fan service character, and in fact, her plot makes a lot of sense. I mean, why wouldn't she come back for revenge? Why wouldn't she want to take down the very individual that killed the person she cared for so deeply? I mean, it made sense as to why she came back. And the thing is, you look at all of this, you look at these characters, you always need to plan out the future of your character even when you're creating them, because you can then know where you're going to go with the character and what direction and what importance they'll add to the plot. That's why I always say, when you are writing a story, know your ending before your beginning, so you can connect the dots between the ending and the beginning, and that it'll all make sense in the end. But anyways, let me know what you think down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, hit the video with a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, share this video with your friends if you found this informative or useful, and follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today, and remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you, and have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.